So Taylor, she's going to have to pay a percent on top of what we pay her, right? So I give her $30 and she gets 20
because of PayPal, you mean?
Yeah.
Because they take a portion.
They take a portion.
Do you have a better solution?
Yes. Crypto.
Oh, here we go. Yes!
Crypto removes all the middlemen in a transaction, and that's the power of it. I only have to trust one person, but when I was selling on eBay, I was using the traditional PayPal or Venmo to get my money, and what would happen is people would send me the Venmo or send me the PayPal, I'd send them the Bitcoin, and then they go to PayPal and say, and reverse the transaction.
Someone drops an EMP,
Yeah.
destroys our electrical grid, money's gone.
You have a false sense of security in our current system. If it was dropped right now, what would happen? How much cash do you have in your wallet?
Oh, I have zero in my wallet.
Yeah, I have zero in mine.
Yeah.
So we're all dead anyway.
So hypothetically speaking, if every single American went to a bank right now,
it's over. This economy's gone.
So I need to set a timer. Do you drink much French press coffee?
I do.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, right now I'm using the AeroPress.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite things.
It's just easy, man. You get 1 cup.
Yeah.
You know, simple.
Yeah, and it
takes a couple minutes.
I'll do that a couple times a day, and that's all I need. Keeps me going.
How many cups of coffee do you drink a day?
3.
On average? 3?
Yeah, I'd say 3. Well, I'm too busy to drink more. Like I keep, when it comes to writing code and technology, there's a lot of focus that's required. So you lose track of things like eating and
I forgot you do it. What language do you guys code in? Is that a loaded question?
It's JavaScript mostly, but we're trying to move to Golang.
I haven't heard of that before. Is that new?
Google came up with a language called Golang. Yeah, it's newer, but it's been around for a while.
Okay.
But it's very good at doing multi-threaded processing, which just means you can write code in a very easy way that does multiple things at the same time and coordinates responses. And it's a little technical, but it is really useful. Node.js, which is what we're using for most of our system right now, it's just inefficient. And you start to realize
what makes it inefficient, like the amount of work it takes to get like a command to be created.
Yeah, so the way that the language is set up is when you're running it on your servers that are like sending it to customers, essentially making customers able to use it, it uses more memory, and the CPU is kind of not utilized as much as it could be. So you end up with you pay more to Google Cloud or Amazon to be able to run your code.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I learned Python when I was in in college. I took a Python like online course.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
It's the language of most scientists.
Oh, really?
I would say so. Yeah.
I mean, it was really easy. Like the syntax was super forgiving. Like it wasn't super technical.
Yeah, it's
it
really
was a bunch
easy.
of like if then, if this is true, then this is. And it was cool.
And what makes a language useful is the community around it. So Python has large libraries that people have written around weather data, which actually connects to Hailtrace. So they, if I decided I wanted to rewrite our software in Golang, it actually cost our organization tons more money than if we just use Python, because there's libraries that already do like a ton of the stuff that we need to do, right?
So just from manpower, just saving.
Yeah. So why reinvent the wheel? So you use the language that has the tools for the thing you're trying to do.
Why are there different languages for different uses? Like, why can't everything just be run off of Python? Why is there JavaScript? Why is there Golang?
It's a good question. They have different strengths. Some of it's like a historical reason. So Python has been available much longer, and so that's why people will use it as opposed to a different language. Some of them are just hobby. People had a hobby, they wanted to build something, and so they created a language, and it got popular.
So it's like crypto.
Yeah,
people just
sort
create
of
crypto.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not really a financial incentive. It's just we enjoy doing things and trying things. And Node.js is actually, so JavaScript is a language that got invented for web technology.
Okay. Yeah, that's
right. So like website, most of the internet is written in JavaScript, right? It's got any site that you go to where you can interact with a form and it validates your form and all. It's JavaScript, HTML, and CSS, right? So you have a ton of people who know JavaScript, and somebody said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we made JavaScript run on a server as well? So it's not just running on a browser, it's running on a server. And so that's where Node.js got created.
Can't just
so now,
why would they have to create a new language for that though? Why can't they just why was there a new language that had to be created for the server?
Well, basically they didn't create a new language. They reused JavaScript, but they just made an interpreter, a program that can run JavaScript on a server.
Interesting. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
So yeah, now all of these people who are really good at front end building UIs, they know how to write server side code. Like they know JavaScript, so they know how to write a server, like a simple,
that's cool.
Write to your database and return some data to the front end that the front end needs to do its thing. So
that's cool. Such an interesting world.
Yeah.
Do you see that AI is gonna potentially take over for coders? Like is that still so? In college, it was like, hey, if you want to be guaranteed a job, learn to code. Yeah. Like when I was growing up, high school, college, it was like, if you want to be guaranteed a job, learn to code.
Yeah.
Is that still a good career path for people, or you think
learn to code?
Yeah, or slowly you think that there's not gonna be as big of a need, and it's more of like it's like an assembly line, right? You have back with Henry Ford, you had people working assembly line. Now you just need a manager and you need some techs.
Right.
That's all you need.
Yeah, is that because they're automating away the
exactly. So you just need people to fix the software issues, and you need handymen to fix the actual machines.
Mm-hmm. It is. I mean, Elon Musk is very concerned about AI.
Yeah,
he's actually resigned now to it. The last interview I listened to, he's just like, okay, so it is what it is.
Well, they just
so what
made
are we gonna do
Grok.
about it?
They call it Grok.
Yeah,
it's like their ChatGPT version.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you hear about that?
No,
they released it, so it's exclusively for X/Twitter Premium Plus members, and it's called Grok, and it's like meant to be
training a model on Twitter or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a model on Twitter, but it's like a ChatGPT competitor that's not coded by the left.
Interesting.
So it's trying to be a lot more balanced, and it's just funny. Like it's Elon Musk, so he has his own.
He does funny things.
So I haven't used it yet.
He's amusing.
Yeah.
So I don't know if AI will replace programmers altogether, or at least not in the near future. It won't, but it definitely raises the bar. Because it's a crutch, right? Yeah, sure. I'll take some coffee. It's a crutch for young engineers because what they need to do is they need to learn the thinking that goes behind writing code. Mm-hmm. And now what they're doing is they're basically learning how to make an AI give an output that they want.
Okay.
Instead of thinking through the lines of code and the logic, the reasoning around the code.
So they're really not even learning fully how to code.
Right. So it's a crutch, and so it actually lowers your value in my mind if you use it like that. Right? If you're new
without
to coding,
fully
I would say
understanding.
stay away from OpenAI.
Yeah.
Or be very careful how you use it because it is a great tool for learning. Like I've learned things. I talk about Golang. I can go to Golang and I say, I know how to program in this language. Show me an example of how to do X thing with the syntax or whatever in Golang. And it's like, oh, in Golang, you do that operation in this way because it's just a different syntax and grammar, essentially a different grammar, right? So it teaches me vocabulary and grammar rules, and then I can go and apply those to my code, which is I mean, to search the internet to figure out, to find a good example for the
if
thing
you're
I'm
a
looking to do.
freelancer too, right? Like you could get so much more done.
Oh, yeah.
With utilizing
for sure.
AI. I mean, the same is true in like the video editing space.
Yeah.
You know, like there's this
I've seen some of
software called
I'm gonna try this coffee.
yeah, it's hot, so don't kill yourself. Do you like it?
Wow. It's not acidic at all.
And we brewed it for 6 minutes with like it's a dark roast.
It's almost like it disappeared out of my mouth.
This is smooth coffee.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like a good wine.
I should have asked if you like your coffee black, but
I do.
I kind of force people to drink this coffee black because people that even hate black coffee, well, like they're like, this isn't bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
it's very good.
But it's still a full body flavor. Like it's still there, but it's not like. Ugh.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. You did it again, Taylor.
Okay, I'm gonna order a bag at least one.
Well, coming soon. This is going to be kind of like a virtual or like a local pickup place. So I'm going to always have about 5 to 10 bags so
Sweet.
people can save on shipping. So let me know.
That's great.
Let's save you money.
So how would I pay you for that?
Yeah, we'll do PayPal. Taylor and I were just talking about this. We had a 30-minute long conversation because a lot of people in the area want coffee, but the way that because she's a small shop, so it's a $10 flat rate ship.
Okay.
You know, so it's like if the bag of coffee is $10, then so we'll do a thing and Taylor gives me her PayPal and it'll work out. Taylor's our roaster. To put it.
Yeah. So you get paid via PayPal, or she would get paid
I'm just
via
the
PayPal.
middleman.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Taylor, she's gonna have to pay a % on top of what we pay her, right? So I give her $30, and she gets 20
because of PayPal. You mean?
Yeah.
Because they take a portion.
They take a portion.
Do you have a better solution?
Yes. Crypto.
Oh, here we go. Here's
Yeah. So here's a little story. Okay. When I first heard about
what a transition, by the way.
You're welcome. When I heard about crypto, I got really excited.
Okay.
And I bought Bitcoin and I said, I'm gonna sell this on eBay.
Okay.
Which is a dumb idea.
So
Don't do that.
Bitcoin on eBay.
Yes.
Okay.
Which is a dumb idea. Don't do that.
Yeah. Why?
Because
what did you think?
Because
was a good idea at the time?
So I was doing something actually pretty ironic, because crypto removes all the middlemen in a transaction, and that's the power of it, right? The trust that I only have to trust one person.
Okay.
In a transaction.
Right.
But when I was selling on eBay, I was using the traditional PayPal or Venmo to get my money. Mm-hmm. And what would happen is people would send me the Venmo or send me the PayPal. I'd send them the Bitcoin, and then they go to PayPal and say, and reverse the transaction. So pretty quickly got scammed, right? Mm-hmm. Why? Because PayPal is a middleman, and they're a very untrustworthy one in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right. They have carte blanche authority over that transaction, so they can reverse it if they want or not, and the banks that are involved all can do the same thing, right? They can reverse a transaction almost at will. So as long as you can prove fraud,
that there is an issue,
right?
So let's do this. So for the listeners that don't know, the reason Austin has done a bunch of things, you know, he is a co-owner of a company called Hail Trace. Yeah. But the reason I had him on the show was because he is very knowledgeable, or very what's the word? Yeah, knowledgeable.
Excited. Let's say excited about
excited
crypto.
and well, knowledgeable compared to my knowledge. I think the average human on cryptocurrency. There's a lot of questions on cryptocurrency. There's a lot of I have a lot of thoughts that I want to hear about today, and I think anyone listening will be actually very interested in the conversation, because I have a lot of questions. So what a great segue. Let's start before we jump into crypto. Here's, I guess, the overall big question to be answered, and then we can kind of jump in. So cryptocurrency, decentralized currency is the concept, right? So there's right? If I'm
in theory.
In theory,
it's decentralized.
But it's still tied to a currency. Like crypto has no value outside of the American dollar. Like no inherent value without a money system backing it, right?
I don't agree.
So that's what I've never understood about crypto.
So let's talk about
Bitcoin and it's trading at.
So let's talk about currency. Okay. So
all right.
so your US dollar
Get
is
coffee so I can mentally.
yes. So the US
follow
dollar
along. Okay.
is no different than crypto, in my opinion. And here's why. It is a perceived value. That's all. The US government says it's legal tender, so you have to accept it. But the US government doesn't set what the amounts that are, well, in normal times, the US government doesn't set the prices.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So they don't have control over the prices. So in theory, the US government decides to print $100 billion. The prices go up. It doesn't matter that they printed $100 billion. That, essentially they.
But didn't the U.S. currency used to be backed by gold? In
1973 it got disconnected from gold.
And at that point,
it's just a fiat currency, right?
okay. Is there any other world currencies that are backed by gold or by
Physical
like a
assets?
physical like?
That's
value?
a really good question. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, so continue.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So
okay.
so the system, the currency is a physical currency, and I guess the only difference is that a government has said this is what we will use as a nation, right? And the people of that country they have agreed to that as being legitimate, and they assign value to. It's all in our heads, guys. It's monopoly money.
Okay.
Right? We all assign value to the currency because other people in the world are willing to accept it. Right? And crypto is just a better version of that, in my opinion. Because
why better?
Well, because our world is going online and we need an equivalent of handing cash. Right? Because when you and I do a transaction where I hand you the cash, that's the tightest form of trust, right?
Like in-person transaction,
Yes.
you mean? Okay, yeah. So
Yes.
it's 1v1.
1-to-1.
Yeah.
Right? So if I told you right now, okay, you don't know me from Adam. Let's pretend you don't know me from Adam.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to sell you a car and you really want that car. Like I'm giving you a good deal. But I say, let's do it through PayPal. What are your thoughts on that?
Why? Well,
Yeah.
First, that's like, why?
Right.
Why not just pay me?
Right. And
Yeah.
then you'd be like, you could reverse that, or
Yeah.
I don't know. Right. But if I say, here's $30,000 right here.
Yeah, cashier's check or whatever,
Yeah,
proof you have funds, right?
Yeah. Then you'd be like, sure. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Right. So there's the fewer middlemen that you put between a transaction, the more trust, the more we're only reliant on you and I's trust with one another, right?
Yeah.
And so if you and I are standing here together and I say, okay, I'll send you a Bitcoin, you'll go, sure. Let's say you accept it, right? You're happy that you're happy with Bitcoin.
Wallet,
Yeah. And you understand it. You understand how it works, right? So it's irreversible. So if I go and I send the Bitcoin and you sit there and we're standing together and you see it pop into your wallet, you know that in theory, that that's irreversible. I have that value assigned to me now. And so then you can move on. You're not like saying, oh, maybe there's a credit card company that might reverse that, or, something could not go through, they could think there's fraud. All these things that could happen are eliminated.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So it's digital cash.
Okay.
If the crypto that you're using has certain safeguards, it is equivalent to digital cash.
Assuming that its value is perceived equally by both parties.
Exactly.
Right.
Now, Bitcoin, I have problems with, right? Because how long does it take for a Bitcoin
7 minutes or something like that?
It's the way the network is set up is that every 10 minutes,
there you go. Yeah.
a new block
and it can't be faster. Right?
Well, the system's designed to make it 10 minutes. So if a bunch of mining power enters into the network, it will go down slightly, like it'll go down to 9 or 8 minutes.
Okay.
But the system will automatically start to increase the
Like
difficulty.
if you're at a store trying to pay for Bitcoin, you're waiting there for 10 minutes, right?
Yes. So that's why Bitcoin is not going to replace.
That's why Dogecoin's better.
Maybe. Yeah. Dogecoin is actually Bitcoin. Did you know that?
No.
It's just a fork of the Bitcoin network.
Just built differently? Or?
They just removed some rules.
So before we dive deeper, because I do have enough of a knowledge of of crypto to have, I think, a decent conversation on it, but I don't think a lot of the listeners do. So if I think when we say crypto, people are like
cryptocurrency. Yeah. So let's explain what it is.
What is cryptocurrency? It's like kindergarten level learning.
Yes. Cryptocurrency is a shared public ledger of transactions. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So think of it like at a bank. At a bank, they actually don't keep news, guys. They don't keep your money in the bank.
Shocker. Hopefully you knew
all
that.
they do is they write into a ledger a transaction, a credit or a debit, and they say X amount was transferred from this account to this account. And if they want to know what your balance is, they add all of those up. Mm-hmm. That's a ledger, and that's how banks work. Well, crypto is just taking that out of the hands of the bank and saying, we're making the ledger public, and everyone can, basically we're making the ledger public, and no one can finagle the numbers. Okay. We create a guarantee that if I want to make a transaction with you, I can do that securely without anyone reversing or being able to spend on my behalf. So that's essentially what it is. Mm-hmm. It's just a public ledger of transactions. So if you want to know your balance, you just look at what your balance is based on what transactions have happened.
And it's backed by something called blockchain.
Yes.
So that's important.
So now, yes. So crypto, not all of crypto is backed by blockchain.
Okay.
So there are some cryptocurrencies that have other mechanisms that are the technology they're on top of. They try to offer the same guarantees as blockchain, but there are different technology. It doesn't have to be blockchain.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what is blockchain? So
like
a simple
a blockchain. So now the question is, how do you make a public ledger?
Okay.
Right. That no one.
Sorry. And when you say public, can define what do you mean by public?
So
ledger?
Anyone on the internet can go download the Bitcoin ledger and see every transaction that has ever occurred.
And who has what?
Yeah.
So in theory, if you're a billionaire or millionaire, everyone knows what money you have.
In theory, if somebody knows what your address is.
Okay.
Right? Because we all have physical addresses, right? We have, my address is something, something, something. Street,
tell it to
something.
the internet.
Yeah. Yeah, I will not do that. So if you know my address, then you can know how much money I have.
Understood. And by address, you mean like digital address?
Yes, digital address. Yep. Okay. So when you open up a wallet, you get a private key. Okay. Which is that's you keep that secret because that's your way to interact with the it's your permission to play.
And is it a situation where wherever you have internet, you can log into your wallet?
Yeah, assuming you'd have to have like a piece of software downloaded on your computer. Okay. But yes, if you have your private key on your computer, that piece of software will help you to interact with the internet. Okay. Or with the blockchain. Okay. Yeah. All right. So that's why wallets exist, right?
Right. Make it a little.
Yeah. Other than you going in and programming a script that helps you transfer money on the blockchain, that wouldn't be fun. Okay. So people write wallets. Like right now on my phone, I have an app that does it for me. But if you wanted, you could go write a script and interact directly with the blockchain.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So then go back to, because I interrupted you. What is the blockchain like?
Okay, so it's a technology for keeping that public ledger in a way that no one can come in and modify a transaction after the fact. Okay, so it's all about relationships and trust, right? Mm-hmm. And so we need to be able to trust that public ledger hasn't been modified. Mm-hmm. And there's several ways of doing that. But the basic explanation is that you have each block is just a list of transactions, and it gets confirmed by the entire network of users on the blockchain.
Okay.
So everyone looks at that block and says, yep, that's legitimate. That follows the rules.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, all those transactions are real. And once everybody being a consensus says, yep, that's good, there's an algorithm that gets run that like turns that block of transactions into a single line entry. And that entry gets put into the next block as the first transaction in the block, or the first entry in the next block. And then that new block starts getting new transactions. And then at the end of that 10-minute period or whatever, that gets turned into a single entry that gets into the next block. So there's this connection between, and that's why it's a chain, right?
Yeah.
Every block has a reference to the previous block.
Okay.
Okay. And so if I want to verify transactions, all I have to do is trace whether or not the block that I'm looking at, I need to just confirm that it is connected to the previous block to know that these are all legitimate transactions. And so how do you confirm that they're real? Well, there's mechanisms for that. In Bitcoin, there's a lot of computers doing a really complicated math problem. And the one that wins the lottery, essentially, by finding the answer to the math problem, gets to be the one that
And is that what they call
confirms the
mining?
block. Yes, that's mining.
Okay.
Yep. So once that block gets mined, or the really complicated math problem goes through, that computer is allowed to place that block on the network, and it gets rewarded for that.
Okay.
And so then the rest of the network has to confirm that block is legitimate. And there's cryptography, like stuff that happens where they can all confirm and see that it's legitimately solved the math problem. Like,
Okay.
yeah. So I know it starts getting kind of complicated.
Convoluted
So
a little
ask
bit,
a question, because there's different ways of doing it. One of them is everybody's trying to solve a really hard math problem, and the person who solves it gets to put the list of transactions on the block. On the chain, right? Another way is there's other consensus mechanisms that aren't using a really complicated math problem. They're actually like running a lottery on the computer, and the person who wins, it's like running some kind of like internal lottery. And if they win the lottery, then they get to be the one that proposes the new block. But that one requires no energy, essentially. So
when you say when you say new block,
the new block of transactions, like a new list of transactions. So
not a new actual. So when you say one Bitcoin, for example, this is I think the disconnect.
Yeah.
Is that one chain? Like if someone mines one, is that how it works? Like there's one Bitcoin that was just mined, right?
Okay.
Is that how it works? Like someone's like,
no. So what happens is, like I said, it's a ledger, right? So what happens is when that block is mined, the network adds a transaction to the block that says this miner, his address gets 25 Bitcoin.
Miner as in MINER.
MINER. Yes. Miner.
We're not giving addresses.
The computer that won, the computer that did the really hard math problem
Yes.
and got the right answer, that one gets, an entry in the ledger gives him a credit for 25 Bitcoin.
Okay. Understood.
So that's that's the reward for trying to solve the math problem is you get an entry that says you got Bitcoin. And that's how Bitcoin's created. It's just a new, kind of like the government prints money. Like they just like print it.
But the difference is there's a limited amount of Bitcoin available.
Right. So, and that is built into the rules of the actual code for the Bitcoin network. So everybody knows what the rules are and everyone's running the code. And so we all know, we can predict who's going to get the reward. We can predict how much new currency is going to enter the system. We can actually almost predict when the reward is going to decrease.
So there's going to be a point where no more Bitcoin can be mined.
theoretically, but it's like billions of years in the future,
Really?
probably. Yeah. Well, because it halves every so often.
Okay.
Okay. So the reward halves every so often. But how long can you have a number?
Yeah.
Right. You can do it as long as there's decimal places to have, right?
Okay.
And how many there's
And
I don't
almost
know. There's like 10 there's more than 10 decimal places in Bitcoin.
Okay.
So like it could have for a very long time.
Okay. So that's, I mean, obviously one conversation is going to be on it, but it helps.
Yeah.
So the theory is, so let's go to the theory behind crypto. So we kind of talked a little bit about blockchain. We talked a little bit about the what. Now it's a little bit more of the what makes it special. Like, let's go there. Because from my knowledge, my limited, very finite information that I have was the reason why crypto was so interesting was the government can print an unlimited amount of money. Where with Bitcoin, there's a finite number that can be created.
Yes.
Like, so it's not just an infinite, like there's value.
I think it's, eventually there is a cap. It's like 25. Is it 25 million or?
I just know there's the, and
like
that's
that.
the separate, because you can't just keep making an infinite amount of,
Right.
But then the question is a couple of things. So let's just pretend for simple that U.S. cash goes away. U.S. dollar completely goes away.
Right.
And everyone in America says, okay, Bitcoin, because we're talking Bitcoin, I know it's not ideal, but let's just say Bitcoin is the currency. It is 100%. What you're saying then is it would be no different than the dollar, because we are already assigning made up like ham is $4.
Yeah.
Why is it $4? Well, it's just because that's what we've all agreed upon. I'm sure there's economics behind,
like economic reasons why it's $4.
But then there's also just, we kind of made up, so you're saying that the same kind of rules could apply to crypto as long as everyone agrees approximately what the value would be.
Yeah.
It can kind of work, right?
Yeah.
But the confusing part right now is that, at least to my knowledge, crypto is based off of the value of the US dollar, because it's like, how much is Bitcoin? Well, Bitcoin right now is worth $42,000 or
it has
$29,000.
$42,000 worth of buying power right now.
Okay, that's how you would do it. So
yes,
it's not. So does that make sense? So then how? So the only way. So I guess the question is the only way for crypto to be really viable is to completely get rid of the American dollar so that it can be used to its full potential. Because right now to me it seems like a diversified investment plan. It's like you have your Roth and your mutual funds, you might want to invest a little bit in some silver or gold, and then you have crypto as a opportunity for a more risky endeavor.
It's a speculative, it's basically speculation.
Correct. That's that's the main use of crypto right now.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is ideally we would get to the point where crypto would be the currency.
Yes.
And it theoretically,
now, whether that can happen is a question, because banks, think if you're a bank, do you want me and you to transact without them?
No, of course
obviously not. They want their cut. So there's a lot of pressure against something like this, right? But in theory, it could replace our current currency. And in fact, have you ever heard of CBDCs?
No.
Okay, so these are called central bank digital currencies.
Okay.
And the central banks are trying to come up with, because they recognize that there's reasons why crypto exists.
Okay.
And so they're trying to come up with cryptocurrencies that they can control.
Yeah.
So,
of course.
So, I mean, there's a digital yen, as far as I know, at this point.
Why would anyone want that though? Because doesn't that defeat the whole purpose of crypto? Isn't the whole purpose of crypto controlled to be decentralized?
Yes. So, but they're trying to get people to use. They'll want people to use their version of crypto so that they can control it. They have power over it.
So
they can have their fees. They can actually, that would be a CBDC is actually controllable to the point that they could tell you what you can and cannot spend your money on.
It's even better for them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually,
because that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, in a way, I guess the fear is, so the beauty with cash is it is physical.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, one of the fears I would have of crypto is if everything's digital, is it fair to say all it would take, if you want a little top off, so it's not the body.
Oh yeah. I'll take some more.
Is it fair to say that if someone drops like a what's the bomb that's like the electrical pulse bomb?
Oh, like
a
EMP.
EMP. I always say EMT. I'm like, no, those help people after.
Don't drop an ENT.
Don't drop EMTs. That one. So someone drops an EMP.
Yeah.
Destroys our electrical grid. And money's gone. Access to
assuming that every computer, you'd have to get rid of every node on the network.
But no, I'm not gone for good. I meant more like
for
temper. I can't go walk to the Home Depot and say, "Hey, here's $20 because I need a shovel."
You're already you have a false sense of security in our current system. Like if it was dropped right now, what would happen? How much cash do you have in your wallet?
Oh, I have zero in my wallet.
Yeah, I have zero in mine.
Yeah.
So we're all dead anyway.
Right. Because the banks wouldn't.
Yeah, the banks would be gone. Like they have digital ledgers
now. Yeah.
Except theirs can't be proven. They can go in randomly and change it if they want.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they have to follow rules, but they can change the ledger.
Yeah.
So you're just trusting that they're backing up their systems.
I mean, you see it all the time with people that will, like athletes will get ticked off at a bank for a reason. They'll walk in and they'll say, "Hey, I want my money," and they're like, "We can't do that."
No, they can't.
Like we can't.
They actually can't.
Yeah, physically they don't have it there. I saw a video. It was a athlete, and he was basically like, "I want my money in cash right now," and he had 20 million or something. And the bank's like, "We can't."
No, we loaned it. Well, they loan it out too, right? I think the U.S. government lets you loan. I can't remember the percentage.
Do they loan and invest some too, right? So they have to sell.
I don't know
shares.
Exactly. It enables them to. They're allowed to create. They essentially, from what I understand, they're allowed to essentially create currency, right? They're allowed to loan out more than they have.
They are American. That's kind of what Americans do.
Because I mean that's creating currency. Is I'm in the ledger. I'm giving people. Entries of more money than actually exists.
So hypothetically speaking, if every single American went to a bank right now,
it's over. This economy's gone. Well, I mean, theoretically, the banks are just going to go, sorry. Do you want to keep operating under the illusion that you have money, or do you want your money right now?
So if every if every American did that and they went to a bank, the banks would the banks then contact the government and say, "Look, we need you to print, insane amount of money."
I guess.
Or because
which would then devalue the currency or something.
Devalue even more.
I really don't know. I don't know what would happen in that scenario. I feel as though the banks would just say, "Sorry, you can't have your money."
I mean, the amount of lawsuits coming out of that. Yeah, we're getting it.
Wait. Yeah.
And then just
eventually, I mean, if everybody kept pulling out, it could collapse the entire system.
Which
crypto would save you from, right? Because in theory, as long as people view crypto as valuable, the ledger is the ledger. It cannot be changed.
Then how can you then the other issue? So there are different currencies based off of different societies. So you have a currency. They give the yen, for China, right?
Yeah.
China. Yeah. Okay. You have the currencies for Europe. You have the currencies for whatever. And then we have American US dollar. But with crypto, you have anybody and their mother can code a crypto. I mean, it could be you have the stupid name. Someone's made a crypto
Moon
for fun.
coin,
right?
Moon Dogecoin, Elon Musk X coin.
Yeah, all exactly. That. So what would stop? You would have to have a 100% buy-in from every individual, or not necessarily. There either has to be someone like the government forcing this is the currency, right? To replace the US dollar. Because in
Yeah.
theory, it makes sense to not have to rely on banks. That
Right.
makes sense.
Right.
But in order for this to ever be feasible,
People have to accept it.
or be forced to accept it, saying we are taking away your dollar, and we have put everything into a digital wallet for you
Right.
with X amount of, like a mass transfer or something.
So it's a
2093, the mass transfer, whatever.
right, and in the end, it is all from the beginning. This is all about trust. It's all about trust, right? So even if the U.S. government were to force people to use something,
Which
if
is
they
100%
don't,
something they
if
would
they
do.
don't trust it,
Like they did with vaccine, cough, cough.
if they don't trust it, that currency becomes very
And that's the
quickly
fear.
loses
Yeah,
any value it had.
Because
So
there is a little bit of maybe misplaced trust, but trust nonetheless in the Federal Reserve, which is a joke of a organization anyway. But there
Federal
is
Reserve and the Treasury Department are in cahoots
yes, and the
Yes.
Federal Reserve is a private organization, if I remember correctly.
in theory.
Well,
It's appointed by the U.S. president.
right, but it's not technically a government organization, correct? I believe
That's what
That's what I was
been told.
in theory.
In theory.
So there is a little bit of faith of like, our dollar is backed by the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
So that makes everyone, and it could just be a big lie.
That everybody's happy to believe.
But
Because
at
I mean,
least
you've got 20
But you
grand
don't
in your
have
bank
that.
account.
You-
You really want to believe that has that.
you don't
that's
have
there.
that hope with crypto. And then what happens if every I guess the lie to believe in, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
You don't have that thing that unifies everyone to say this thing's legit.
Yes.
Then what's to say let's say we all move. What's your favorite crypto? Just give me a name.
Algorand.
It sounds like a Dungeon and Dragons, like
Uh,
Algorand or
Algorand.
Algorand. So we all
Yes.
go to Algorand. Then let's
Yeah.
say somebody creates a better crypto that has faster transaction times, that has...
Yeah.
Then it's like, oh crap,
So now-
is Algorand useless now because
Right.
we're all going to move to this currency?
This is all. So the trust that is built. It's interesting. There's two aspects to this, right? One is that can the network deliver on its promises, right? And we've watched Bitcoin for the past how many years? When was when I first bought
20?
Bitcoin?
I mean, it's been around for a while. I mean,
I think it was it was 20. It's at least 10. I mean, it was like 2012 when I first bought Bitcoin and heard about it. So it had already
2009.
Okay, 2009. Okay. So anyway, we have seen Bitcoin make claims. There's a white paper out there that makes claims that have been confirmed. The network has been stable. Right? So we've built trust over the past 2009 to now is what? Like
15 years,
15
14
years,
yeah, 14
years.
14 years, yeah.
Yeah, so the system works. So now the question is, are we going to trust are we going to value it and use it for transactions? So there's two aspects. So if a new crypto comes out, everyone's going to go, let's review that code. Let's make sure there aren't any backdoors in that code. Let's make sure those rules are actually what they're saying they are.
Yeah.
You say you've got 4-second transaction time. Let's watch. Let's see some stress tests on that system and see where we go.
So just because a new crypto is created doesn't mean anything. Like there's going to have to be a strenuous level of
over
testing
time. Over time,
Proof.
people use it. They build stuff on it, and you see nothing happen. It just chugs along and actually gets stronger over time. Then okay, it's a legitimate thing, right? So. And everyone, the thing about a public ledger is that the code is public. That's the only way it works, is everyone downloads the same code and runs it.
You realize that there's no way the government ever lets this happen.
Maybe.
There's no chance.
Well, they can't.
Because they can't control it.
The thing
The
is
only way they're doing this
Exactly.
is if they can control it.
They can't control it.
So they're not letting it happen. There's no chance.
But they can't control it. Unless
what I'm saying
unless
is
you do
the
what
only
China
way
does and
this
you shut down the entire internet or something, or try to.
But there's no way it works in the
you'd have
full
to make it
function
illegal.
while there's another currency everyone agrees on.
But if trust over time erodes on the US dollar because of all the things the Fed is doing.
But you don't think
it
the Fed,
increases
there's
in-
no chance for the Fed to say it is illegal to trade Bitcoin?
It seems unlikely. There's a spot ETF is about to, and which is why the price of, I think, is why the price of Bitcoin is going up right now. The spot ETF is about to be approved by the FEC.
And what's that?
It is an ETF that is tied directly to Bitcoin.
Okay.
So when people buy the ETF, Bitcoin is purchased, and when it's sold, Bitcoin is sold.
Interesting.
That kind of thing.
Okay.
So it's the same as an ETF for any other
stock.
for a stock, a group of stocks, right?
Yeah.
You're essentially buying ownership in a group of stocks.
Bitcoin for in this scenario.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if the FEC approves a spot ETF for Bitcoin, then it kind of signals that at least one government agency is okay with this as a financial instrument.
And how would IRS collect taxes?
Yeah,
That's
another complicated thing.
they're
I'm not a
trying-
financial advisor or a tax advisor,
Because for a while you could invest in like they would have no idea. And now there's a line.
They weren't looking at it.
Yeah.
Now
they are.
Now they're interested in it because, I mean, if somebody gives you a Bitcoin, that's worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
So they want their cut.
Of course. Dude, so talk about the biggest scam in all of against taxes.
Well, the way we do taxes, I think.
I'm not saying taxes are wrong. I'm saying the way we do taxes, you get taxed 15 times.
Yes.
On your it's insane.
Yeah, the business. So at Hail Trace, we're taxed on the money on our side.
Yep.
And then our employees are taxed.
And there's sales tax on the items they buy.
Yep.
And then in some places there's gas taxes, and then on some there's sidebar.
Yeah.
Biggest, I think, the fact that you have to pay taxes on items you own.
Is
property tax, for example.
It's
you own something. Hypothetically, you own it with or without the government present. This is, again, an ideal world. You have your deed for your land.
Right.
Why are you paying the government for your property?
Yeah. Well, see, I kind of
because
I kind of see it as like the government is offering you a guarantee that you can keep owning your property. In theory.
Sure. Well, then stop doing income tax.
So you have to pay for that.
But to me, choose.
Income tax is absurd to me.
Yeah.
At some level.
Flat
because
tax.
it's just not it's not equitable. It's not fair in my opinion.
To any party.
Yeah.
Because and then I'm a big fan of flat tax. If you're going to have an income tax, 5%.
Yeah.
Everybody, and then you run into the people that are like, well, it's not fair for the people that make 20 grand.
Yeah, but most people who have lots of money,
they
are finding ways.
Generally they're paying zero.
Well, they're being patient.
Yeah.
Right. So they're keeping their money in riskier things so that they don't have to pay the taxes. So
or a lot of times they're intentionally incurring debt.
Right. Which is a risk. In my taking on debt is a risk.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's what people don't understand is that people that have a lot of money generally are still actually going to be paying less are paying less taxes than you are with the current tax code the way it's built.
Yeah.
Because of the loopholes and because of the risks.
They have the ability to get around some of it.
But if you just do a flat tax, 5% for everybody.
Right.
It's simple.
So I'm not a multimillionaire.
No,
but I
need more people listen to the podcast.
Our business, there are reasons why we might want to take things as take income as owners as equity income like dividends versus taking it as income,
especially with tax brackets, because then the more that you make and then the more that you lose, and it to me, man, it just disincentivizes ingenuity. It disincentivizes more business owners. It's that simple, but for whatever reason.
Yeah, and it gets worse. As you become more successful, the more tax you pay.
Yeah. It's
a business.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I know business owners that have intentionally stalled their companies because they said if we get to X amount more in revenue and employees,
Yep.
I mean, even
We've got to become a C corp or
yeah,
S corp.
even with health insurance, man. If you have over 50 employees, you have to offer health insurance.
Yeah.
Like it is a mandatory regulation. So there are employees that have 49.
Yep.
And you better believe they're not hiring 50 when they need probably 70.
Right. Because they haven't offered it to everybody from the beginning.
Correct.
So now.
Yeah, and now it's it's going to be
right.
an insane, and so it's crazy. It is. So
yeah.
How can a crypto help with this? That's the real question.
Okay.
Can you tax crypto, hypothetically speaking?
So I view taxes. So taxes are based on law, and law is the government holding a gun to your head and saying, "Give me something."
Yeah.
Right. In the end, if you don't pay your taxes, somebody's going to come to your door with a gun, and they're going to take you to jail. Right? They're going to limit your freedom.
Right.
So can you tax crypto? Yes, as long as you know who owns it.
Which they can find out.
That's the trend.
Public ledger thing.
In theory, you could open a wallet and transact with people directly, like you and me. I open a brand new wallet right here.
Yeah.
I get a new private key, a new address on the network, and I say, send me money here. And you send it there, and no one but you and me know that I own that.
It's almost like a VPN,
Yeah, sort of.
like a virtual private network for like.
Yeah, and you got to be like, there's laws against money laundering and things, right? So, there are systems out there that tumble crypto. So like move it around many addresses before it arrives at the final one.
And generally people do that because they're doing illegal activities. Generally,
why would you want to do that unless you're like hyper concerned about security because you're that way? You don't trust anybody. So yeah, mostly there's an incentive for it. It's avoiding taxation, criminality, those kinds of things.
Nice.
But
okay.
I mean, you still have the possibility of somebody tracing, things can be traced.
Oh yeah.
And on a ledger, it's a ledger of transactions. So somehow there's a connection.
So that is the only potential bonus to physical currency. They can track that I took out $1,000 from the bank, but they can't track if I cashed out $1,000.
They can't track who you gave it to.
They can't track who I gave it to and what I bought. They can see that I took out $1,000, but that's where it stops.
Yeah.
Like that's where their information about my life stops.
In theory, no, the currency that you spend has a barcode on it. Or not a barcode, but like a list of numbers. It has a number. So as long as they're tracking with those numbers, they know who they'll be able to see, they could theoretically see they could see once it's hard. You can't see every transaction, but you can go, okay, this dollar that you have, how did you get this dollar? Well, it came from so-and-so, and then you go to so-and-so. It came from so-and-so.
Seems like a giant waste
all
of
the way
manpower.
Back to whoever spent it in
like
the first
it would
place.
be really easy if I gave cash to you, then you went right to the bank. Well, that's like that's
right, because then the bank takes it.
If you paid cash for this, someone doing your driveway, then the kid saved it for 5 years and paid cash for a,
Yeah, in theory, there is some traceability to cash, is all I'm saying, but it's less than if you, and people.
If you're a drug dealer, I'm just curious. Does it make sense to have crypto? Can you cash out crypto in a way that isn't as traceable, but you still have to use a bank for cash, so that doesn't make any sense. That would still be the same.
There are ways.
Yes, I was kidding.
There are ways.
Okay,
because
they should have put this on Breaking Bad.
Money is fungible, right? So, in theory,
money is fun.
It is fun and it's jibble. No, but if let's say you have 30 Bitcoin.
Okay. Well, dang, dude, I'm rich.
Yeah, you're rich. Okay.
What is Bitcoin trading at approximately right now?
$44,000.
Oh, it's back over 40.
Yeah. It was 43 this morning.
It was like 20 something like after the big drop, right? Like 23 or 24.
Which is crazy because when I was, I have my sad crypto story where I was selling Bitcoin at $1,000,
That's tough.
Yeah. I was mining it at that point.
Were you?
I was, yeah.
And if you would have just if you would have held on, have you calculated how much you would have made Let's do calculation.
I don't know.
This is
It
great.
probably
content.
have only been like 100,000.
But how many Bitcoin did you mine?
Oh, the number I mined was probably less than a Bitcoin. I probably mined like no more than half a Bitcoin total.
And how many Bitcoin did you sell for 1,000? Just like one?
I bought and sold Bitcoin a lot, so I don't know the number.
So if you bought, let's just pretend you never sold any Bitcoin and you exclusively held every Bitcoin you bought.
Yeah, I'd have like between 5 and 10. So,
Bitcoin. So you have
yeah,
nice 500,000.
yeah.
And
Right now,
dude,
I have friends who
held on to it.
Well, from the early days.
Man, imagine buying Bitcoin for like $1. You know, you have like 10 Bitcoin.
It'd be crazy.
You know what's crazy?
Is that story of the guy who went and bought a pizza with Bitcoin way back in the day, and it was like 15 or
he was
whatever.
like, sure.
And like, man, dude.
It was worth it. Yeah. And well, did you hear about the Dogecoin millionaire?
Yeah.
The guy that.
Well, yeah. There's a couple.
Idiot.
Actually, I know somebody
Really?
who I think is a millionaire because of it. I don't know for certain.
His nick was his YouTube channel. His nickname was the Dogecoin millionaire. What happened
Nice.
was he cashed out everything he owned, like 140 grand. Okay, and bought Dogecoin. Okay, when it was like trading for absolute pennies, like nothing. Okay,
And then it exploded.
then it absolutely exploded
to 7 cents a Dogecoin.
So he had,
which
like,
if you think about it, is absolutely insane since it's unlimited mining. Like there's no limit.
for Doge.
No.
Oh, okay, wow. So he had like 1.7 million, and I think it went up to like 2.8 million dollars he had. And then you had like the SNL skit where Elon mentioned Dogecoin, and then it shot up again. And that
went
was
to
the last
14
hurrah.
cents,
Yeah,
right?
it was the last hurrah. So he had like 5 million or 4. Like it was an insane
hope
amount.
he sold.
He did not. He was like hodl,
Yeah.
for hodl. Diamond hands is what people call people that don't sell. And he's like, I'm diamond hand this thing. And
That's crazy.
And I mean, I don't know if you guys know who Graham Stephan is. If you've
Yes,
heard of
I
Graham
do,
Stephan.
yeah.
So Graham
Yeah, I
had him
listened
on
to
the
him.
show, and he was like, okay, if you sell half, like you don't even have, if you want to keep, because you think it's the next year, if you sell half, you are set for life.
Yeah.
Like, and he didn't sell any of it. He lost it all. And he's still making YouTube videos of different cryptos and stuff. And I'm like, dude, and he plays it off like he's fine.
Yeah.
He's like, I knew the risks. I told you guys I was going to hold it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm man of my word. I'm like, bro, you are depressed. Let's be honest. Like, let's
be real.
Let's be real, dude. You hate your life that you did that.
Yeah.
It's like he was doing it because he was like trying to prove a point that he's not gonna like. I'm like, dog, you could.
You know, the same arguments could be made around Bitcoin. It's like, oh, it's at 44. Why are you not selling? You could be a millionaire.
But
some of some guys I've talked to are like, you know what? I believe in the crypto more than I believe in the U.S. government dollar.
Yeah.
So why would I convert my crypto to U.S. dollar since I don't trust it as much as I could trust crypto?
But their crypto's only worth as much as the person who's buying it values that crypto.
Yes.
And
But
there's not that many.
they're patient. These guys are patient. They
think
know
that it's gonna
this is
slowly
where it's
turn.
going. And Bitcoin doesn't have the ability on the main chain to be able to support an economy like the US economy. But there are mechanisms in it called like the Lightning Network that could support the everyday transactions we want to do.
So the risk they're taking is one day, Kathy Wood comes out because she's like the chick. She's the lady that's in charge of a huge investment firm. I can't remember her name or the name of it is like ARK something. Anyway, and she just says Bitcoin's dead. Bitcoin's a scam,
That's happened so many times.
and it's still stayed around.
Yeah.
But there is a chance that people completely move on to Bitcoin to a new currency as the new Bitcoin, right?
It's unlikely in my opinion because it's the first and it's the most stable and trusted.
Because of the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But man, wouldn't that stink?
It's like
You've all
it's like the original form of the internet. Like it just like the internet.
Okay.
You know, every cryptocurrency is essentially another version of the internet.
When you
and
say
back when the internet,
do you mean like a search engine or the actual
the protocols and functionality that support what we know as the internet. So there's a protocol that all these computers in the world have decided to use to communicate with one another. They've decided, okay, this is the language we're going to talk.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
That's a protocol.
Okay.
Bitcoin is a protocol.
Then is like the wallet like your browser in that
Yeah,
scenario?
yeah.
Like because it's the access
Exactly.
to get into the
Yep.
protocols.
So your browser, all the browsers you're using have all decided that since the world uses TCP as the protocol for communication, we're going to use that and communicate. We could come up with a browser and a protocol that's different. If we wanted, we could do that.
Right.
And there are things like that. Have you ever heard of Tor?
No, I have not.
Okay. So it's like the dark net. Have you ever heard of the
Yeah,
dark
yeah,
net?
yeah.
That's
Oh, yeah.
what the dark net is.
Oh yeah.
It's another version of
That's
internet.
where I buy my body parts. The dark web. Yeah.
Your body parts. I'm like,
You can sell
I
body
was
parts in the
looking
dark
at,
web, right?
for a second, I'm like, that arm is looking
Yeah,
new.
that's
I
what
like,
I'm saying. Yeah,
I like that arm.
You can find anything on the dark web. Dude.
Yeah,
You can,
exactly.
like,
Yeah.
I need like a,
but
like
the
a pinky,
dark web
you know?
is another version of the internet.
Right. Is it really?
It's another protocol. It's like the difference between Ethereum
Is
and
it
Bitcoin.
is the dark web fully anonymous like it claims to be? Because you're taught there's no such thing as full anonymity.
It
in the internet.
is.
But is it
It can be.
pretty dang close?
There's ways to. Yeah, you have to use, like everything, you have to use it wisely in order to be anonymous.
Right.
Just like with Bitcoin, if you want to be anonymous using Bitcoin, you have to do things to make sure that your identity is not tied to that.
And so then for the
transaction.
dark web, it's like, okay, so I use Google Chrome to access the normal internet. There's a different access point.
Yeah, so
that
there's
you
an
need to
internet
use.
service provider that knows that you access that site.
Right. Everything.
Right. So how do I get around that? Well, I go through the regular internet service provider to go to a VPN. And then the VPN is a shell around my activity that no one can see into. And in there, I do some activity. That is,
But
I
a
don't want people to see
VPN
it.
VPN you can use for normal internet. Like that's
Yeah.
not dark web. But
But
access,
it can be
but for
used
someone
to get around being traced.
to entering the dark web.
Yes.
Okay. So if you have whatever, I have no idea the application because I've never been on.
Right.
But if you have like an application that allows you to enter the dark web, or that's what I don't know if it's still called the dark web. I mean, that's
Yeah, sure.
whatever
We'll call it
it's
the dark. Like I'm.
What's
yeah.
it? What would you call it?
I think the dark web Tor is a tool for entering it.
Okay,
I think.
so
I'm pretty sure.
let's say someone
So
has-
I'm no expert on the dark web, by the way. So just so you know,
Austin's like
but I
selling
do
my-
know I know how it works at some
Which
level.
I think is important to know.
Yeah.
I mean, like
Yeah.
the more knowledge. I mean, it's like why Tesla pays hackers to hack into
Right.
their cars. It's like they need to know everything so they're not
Yeah. Yeah,
blindsided by something.
exactly. Yeah.
Especially with what you do. But yeah, dude, I think that's interesting. So the point is, so if someone had a VPN, then then no one could see the fact that they're entering into the dark web. But once they're into the dark web, there's no ledger
it's not
of any
traceable.
type of
It's theoretically not traceable.
theoretically.
Yes. Why I say theoretically is there's always ways to do things. I've come to learn. That podcast that I'm
Yeah.
can I
What was it
mention
called?
The Darknet Diaries.
Darknet Diaries.
Yeah.
Okay.
Given enough time and effort, you can theoretically crack
Anything's possible.
anything.
Yeah. Okay.
Theoretically.
Right. Nothing's 100% secure is pretty
Right.
much.
It's
the theory.
just you got to make it really hard.
Right.
And
Almost seem hopeless.
make the incentives really bad for doing the thing you want to do, which is actually what crypto is using, right? Bitcoin, you could theoretically change a transaction on the Bitcoin network, but the amount of energy you'd have to spend to do that,
and time. And
you'd have to have more hash power than the entire existing network to do that.
So is there a world? Sorry, my brain's moving now. Okay, so talking about decentralization and
Yeah.
talking about so I go to Amazon and I purchase dog toys,
Yeah.
and everyone and their mother can see that. The IRS can see that. The bank can see that.
They can see a transaction happen. They don't know what it's tied to unless
Sure.
they went and subpoenaed Amazon.
But they could get it. I'm saying it's very it's not hidden. I mean, it's
No, the transaction's not hidden.
But hypothetically, you could marry Bitcoin in the dark web to create
Yes.
a fully anonymous purchase that people could not trace at all.
Yeah,
hypothetically.
and there are cryptocurrencies out there that are designed like that.
So I guess the point is, if the point is to have a decentralized currency where the government can't touch it,
Yes.
it would almost make sense to make your currency and the dark web together, because then people could buy and sell, and not like bad. Just like that's just the
Right.
new.
Let's keep the government out. They
Yeah,
have
that's
no
the-
right knowing.
That's the whole
anything.
point
Yeah.
of crypto, right? Is
Right.
to have the fact that it's
Yeah.
it's a
So that is a good idea, but I think will not happen. And the problem is that to get to the point where we're in, if we're going to move to crypto as what we
society,
use
okay.
as a society, we have to transition from an old system to a new system.
Right.
And in that process, we're all going to tie our identities to crypto wallets. Like right now, if you want to go buy crypto, you can't get it from a legitimate, well, I won't say can't, but it's difficult to go spend fiat money, US dollars, and get Bitcoin without going through an exchange that is required
yeah
to tie your identity
to that purchase.
To that purchase.
So it defeats the whole purpose in a way.
In a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we were talking earlier, like there's ways around it, right? If you had 30 Bitcoin and
I could spread it
And
around to different wallets, is what you're right?
you could have a wallet and you could have two wallets, one for income and one for outgo. And you just promise people that you'll send to the ultimate destination. So you become a middleman, and that's how you
become your own middleman.
That's how you launder.
Yeah.
Right.
It's good to know.
Is somebody over here says, okay, I'll give you a Bitcoin. And you
there's
make
some-
sure it gets over to that guy, okay? And then you've got this wallet over here that you send it to, and there's no way to trace that this wallet and this wallet are connected other than you
There's some
having
like
the private keys.
meth dealer listening
Yeah.
to this podcast being like, "That's a really good idea." I haven't thought about that.
Yeah. So there's ways around it, but it's just people aren't that. People don't think that way in the regular world, you know.
Yeah, well, I feel like I'm a pretty smart person, but even when it comes to that kind of stuff, I always feel like I'm going to make a mistake that I don't even try.
Yeah.
I like.
Well, I got my dad into crypto sort of.
Really?
Well, I had him open up an Algorand wallet and I sent him some crypto.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Nice.
I think it will become like the browser, right?
Yeah.
When the internet came out, I'm sure people were like, "What's this browser thing? You have to put HTTPS / in the and what? How does the
www.
DNS? What's www dot?
Yeah.
Like that's all weird,
.com.
right? But it's the same thing is happening. You have these wallets, crypto addresses are these long hashes. And originally there wasn't domain name services. So you didn't have a domain name for a website. You had actual numbers you had to type in like 52.1.3.18.
Right.
If you wanted to get to a website, right? But then eventually they came up with DNS.
evolved.
So you can do like app.hilltrace.com and you get this nice moniker, right? And the same thing's happening over with crypto. You can actually go right now on the Ethereum network and you can buy domain
I have
names.
Ethereum.
You do?
I have
Nice.
Ethereum and Bitcoin,
Yeah.
but I don't have a wallet.
Yeah, you can get a wallet and get a domain or like a moniker for your wallet. So people don't have to enter your IP or your long hash name. They just enter your, Dylan.England and they send you money.
Okay. It's like Cash App.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. But it's between us.
Dude, this was cool. I think, first of all, we could talk for another hour.
I know.
This is great. I think my takeaways, is, if you, in theory, it works as far as like, if we got rid of it, it makes sense. I'm thinking through it. It makes sense now that in theory, the cash that we use, fiat currency money, is just a figment of our imagination. We gave it the value it has because it's not tied back to gold anymore.
Yeah.
It's inherent. The value is created by perception.
Right.
And the same thing could be true of Bitcoin or
Any crypto.
whatever crypto, like hypothetically in theory. But that would be very hard to ever really happen because the only way I see this actually really happening, which we can get into like end times discussion, is like a one world order, one world currency pushing from, UN, whatever of like, because maybe that could be the only thing I think that would ever push this to the point where like, because that was the whole concept of crypto, right? Everyone anywhere could use crypto.
Yes.
Right? Like, you don't have to have a yen. You don't have to have a, you have Bitcoin or you have whatever Algorand or whatever.
Algorand.
Algorand for the whole world. That's the concept. And but that would be very, very, very hard to accomplish.
Yeah. Yeah, it would to force everyone to use it would be difficult.
Then I guess to kind of wrap up, what is the current use that people should view crypto as with the hybrid system that we do have?
That's a really good question. Well, I think that crypto is going to enable people to transfer value to other places that maybe wouldn't be accessible or would be very difficult to get money to. So that's one use. So, I'm planning to go overseas and live there, and to get money from the U.S. banking system over to some remote place, Bitcoin becomes a super interesting thing because I can actually transfer value as long as the person I'm interacting with sees it as valuable, right? I can do a transaction in the remotest parts of the world without
exchanging currencies,
without banks being involved, right? And all the things that come with banks and international banks
and fees
and banks
and all that kind of
wire
stuff,
transfers and all the things that have to happen, right? So reducing the friction for transactions, I think it will have a use like that. We didn't even talk about stable coins, but in theory, you just use a stable coin at this point, and it's the same. It's essentially crypto but tied to a currency, right? So that could help people in remote places to do transactions. And I think that's one place. And you've seen some governments actually adopting Bitcoin itself as the currency of the country, that's interesting. But then the other thing is you can do things with crypto that are not possible with traditional finance. We can actually tie we can tie things called NFTs to physical assets in the real world. And the NFT is legally, like if you can prove that you own a physical object in the real world if you have ownership of this NFT. And so, houses could be sold on and exchanged on crypto. And in fact, I own a part of 3 different properties using this kind of mechanism.
So when a lot of people hear NFT, though, I think they think of like those monkey or like those, I'm talking about the picture things think of that people would hype
the
up.
Worst possible. It's the worst possible form of NFT because it's not.
Because NFT stands for non-fungible token.
Yes.
But when people think of NFT, they think of Logan Paul hyping up some thing that they made and sold for $1 million.
Cyber monkey.
That's now useless.
Right.
But what you're saying is
you can create legal structures
using this technology.
Yes. So you can generate an NFT and you can create a company, and in the operating agreement of the company, or the company owns this asset. Okay. This NFT.
Okay.
And it's set up where this company and the NFT are now one to one. And so if I buy the NFT, I legally own the company.
Okay, so let's use real estate. So hypothetically speaking, we got rid of deeds, like paper deeds.
Yeah, you could do that.
Hypothetically speaking, you could just tie a virtual NFT to every home.
Yes.
And then when someone would purchase a home.
Yeah, there would be a law or something to connect them to.
Yeah. Just like there is a paper deed now. Right. So when you buy your home, you sign off on you're the new homeowner to that parcel of land.
Right.
Hypothetically speaking, you could move that to a fully virtual online ownership document in a way.
Yes. It is provable mathematically that you own that. As long as you have that private key.
So the technology for NFTs actually could be valuable for more than just little purple cyber monkeys that people are trying to sell for millions of dollars.
And it's crypto is being used for this kind of application. So I was talking about properties, like the way this Lofty AI, the way that they're doing this is they created they create a something equivalent to an NFT. It's not exactly an NFT.
Okay.
And they tie it legally to a company that owns the property. And then everyone who owns shares of that NFT or pieces of that, because pieces of that property, they gain rental income.
So it's like a REIT.
It's like a
REIT is it's like a mutual fund for real estate.
Yeah, exactly. But it's on chain.
Okay.
It's on the blockchain.
And the benefit of doing it that way is
that I can buy it and own it instantly, right? And I have proof that I own it.
And banks aren't involved.
And they're not involved, yeah. And if you want to give me your share, you can send it to my wallet.
And in theory, yeah, because generally with REITs you have managed funds and you have a lot of other stuff and fees you're paying to brokers, and it kind of wipes away all that stuff.
Right.
It's just a one-on-one private.
Right. Now,
could one person buy an NFT for a property, hypothetically speaking, and then split it up into different, like, and have multiple people own that?
No. Well, see, that's why NFT is the wrong mechanism.
Okay.
Because a non-fungible token is a single token.
Right.
Right.
But
whereas what they're actually doing is Algorand is the network that Lofty uses.
Okay.
Algorand provides the ability to create a token, but it's not just one. It's multiple tokens. So
that track to one.
So you create a new crypto called, 2021 Electric Ave, right? Some random house, right?
Yeah.
So that's the name of the cryptocurrency, and only 100 tokens exist for that crypto. Okay. So, and then you legally tie the property to that token. So then anyone who owns one of those tokens owns a share of that company.
So
that owns the property.
There could be, so the argument is that the future, the people that believe in crypto are saying eventually crypto can be the safe holding place for ownership of physical goods.
Yes.
That's one of the.
But
the
it requires a legal structure and a country that has laws that are obeyed.
Yeah, the government would have to be involved at some level.
So the government is important for that to work. Yeah. And the other thing
is kind of
you can
ironic,
do is actually, yeah, at some level, yeah. But it's all about trust, right? And the reason you would trust buying that token and expecting it to be actually tied to a rental property is because somebody has to be forced to make good on their promises.
Yeah.
Right. And the government provides that trust.
Is there a level where you think this a state could choose to do this, like a singular state like starts this and it's a state's thing instead of a federal thing?
I don't know. Are there laws against states creating their own currencies?
I mean, I don't know, but I feel like that's more constitutional than the federal government doing it.
I don't know. Probably it'd be fine. I don't know.
No,
I'm no legal scholar on that.
I'm a big states' rights guy, so I'm kind of thinking like
states could theoretically.
That could, like, if one state was like, hey, we're going to try to be.
Yeah, we're going to move all of our deeds to digital.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could do that. And it's really.
Do a trial run action.
Yeah. That would be interesting to see. I'd love to see that. I think that'd be great.
And the benefit to the citizen is what?
I mean, at the very least, have you ever received those letters saying, like, after you buy a home, you start getting like 1,000 letters?
Yeah.
They're all saying, oh, you need some kind of thing about your deed, or, and so they're trying to scam you.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So your physical deed now, like, it can't be forged. It can't be, like, if you own that private key that proves you own that document, then you own that document.
Right.
And so it removes a lot of possibility for fraud.
Just safer. It's a safer way to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Riskier at some level if you lose your private key. Now you're like, and then you'd have to have a government process for recovering the document somehow. And
then generally your private key would probably be still written on paper, which then kind of defeats the whole purpose in a way.
Yeah. And well, yeah. You'd probably want to keep that pretty
very secure
place. Yeah.
If I put it in my shirt pocket, it's right there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. And the other thing, so you asked how it could be used today. Another thing is, I don't know if I've seen somebody actually doing this yet, but you could actually have multiple people paid in a contract at the same time. So think about if I'm a supply chain company. Okay. And you are Ford or some big company, and you want to pay the supply chain company to bring object X from place A to place B, right? Well, what can happen is that when I pay you through the crypto network, whichever one you pick, right? And it couldn't be Bitcoin because Bitcoin doesn't support contracts. When I pay you, I'm actually paying a contract.
Sure.
That all of the stakeholders involved get their cut of immediately or as part of the contract.
Okay.
So you could build an entire digital mechanism to execute a contract where, the truck driver, when he gets the stuff from A to B, his pieces of the funds are released into his wallet. And when the, airplane operator moves it from C to D, their piece of it gets released.
Okay.
And then the whole thing is, but it's digitally encoded so that when Ford pays me, they're actually paying for this contract to get executed. And each stakeholder is guaranteed in a trustless way to get their money when they execute their piece of the contract.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that kind of stuff is possible on crypto. It just requires somebody to code an application that makes it really easy for everybody.
Sounds like a new company when you start.
Yeah. And I start a new browser.
Yeah.
It's the same idea as building a wallet. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely cool to see the technology of the what if. It's a multiple use option. It's not just like, for a while when people would talk about crypto, it was all about decentralization.
Yeah.
But it's actually the technology behind it can be used in multiple ways. It's not necessarily just for like taking over the dollar.
Right.
There could be value. There is value in the whole crypto scene. And when I say crypto, I include NFTs and I include everything in that. Yeah. To use in multiple ways, right? And not just making Bitcoin or Doge or whatever the next big thing.
Coin. We should start Dill in England.
The Dill coin?
The Dill coin. I think there's a pickle coin.
Yeah, it doesn't. The Dill pickle coin. We could do the Dylan England show coin, and then people
sell
could
it, make a buck.
Yeah, or people could buy the coin to support the podcast, and then the bigger the podcast gets, the more value their initial investment made.
Yeah. In 5 minutes, I could create you a coin.
Dude, that'd be scary. Wouldn't that kind of in theory work? Like if you create a coin, and let's say there was like we coded it to where it was like 1 million total things to be created, right? So there's only 1 million to ever be mined. And then every time someone bought a new coin and mined and bought, the value would keep going. So as the podcast grew, the people that initially bought the coin, their value would initially keep going up. And so then it's like a way to donate to the podcast, but also potentially by buying a coin. But then potentially getting a significant boost in your, so if the coin was $100, to buy initially, let's just pretend we made it a very high, this is more of a donation to a podcast, right? But after the podcast grows to like 1 million subscribers on YouTube, and now it becomes a hot commodity to own this thing. Hypothetically, they're $100 could be worth $1,000 one day. Yeah.
So like Algorand, which is why I like Algorand, is because you can create your own coin on top of that network. So, and the same thing with Ethereum.
Because that's what some people, you could,
but it's cheaper on Algorand.
Is there a world for crypto and charities? Like, is that even a thing? Because if
you can imagine it, it probably exists.
Because if you can create a coin that has only perceived value, and then the more people buy that coin, the more the value goes up.
Yeah.
So then you could tell donors, hey, look, there's this kids cancer coin that instead of donating directly to the hospital, we want you to buy this coin. And then the more people that buy this coin, the more value it has. I mean, I don't know. Hypothetically speaking, you could do something.
It's like just that. You have to create incentives for people to buy it
at
and to raise the value, because it's if it's not market, it's economics, right? Yeah. So the reason the value goes up is because people want it. Yeah. And it's scarce.
So that's kind of where you lose that.
Right. Yeah. But you could use it as like a token where people buy this for fun. They get this token.
Yeah. You can make it.
But I'm not sure it would create the value you're hoping it would.
Yeah. It's too good.
I've seen it used for, so crypto casinos they'll create a token on top of something like Algorand. And then
it'd be a fun thing.
You have to buy that token to play on the casino. And then you go back to some exchange to turn it back into fiat currency. Okay. So it's kind of a way sort of around becoming, like having to do some of the legal things you have to do to become a casino. Yeah. Potentially. I don't know all those laws.
Casinos are another crazy conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like how they run their algorithms to it's like 0.98 cents on the dollar. So like,
they have to guarantee a certain return. Yeah.
But it's like this perfect, like it's planned. Like they know exactly to the decibel generally on how much.
Yep. Based on the law of large numbers.
So they need to have people win enough to make it fun, but lose enough to make sure the casino always has profits.
Yeah.
And it's like so there's a website. So when my wife and we'll wrap up here. But when my wife and I went to Vegas, never been to a casino before. And I'm like, okay, I want to Google the behind, how does a casino make money, blah, blah. So I did all this research on casinos because I was curious. Yeah. Because we went to Vegas for a work trip. or I guess a work celebratory trip. You hit goals, you went on this trip. Okay. So it was this guy went to pretty much every casino in Vegas, or all the big ones, and mathematically spent an insane amount of money at each, and then reported back on what the return was for his money. Yeah. And so he had listed the best casinos to go to based on the odds that he received.
The ones that give you the best odds.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was one was 0.987, one was 0.97, one was 0.95, one was but it was all within this I don't know. So it was just crazy. So he's like, none of them obviously was over at least you broke even.
Yeah, no, yeah.
But some were
business model
0.89, and some were 0.98, and because there was a decent and those ones were generally the ones that were not as bustling, popular. But the ones that were bustling were the ones that were
very close.
You go in and you hear people screaming and they're pumped and they're jacked, and because I've also never seen a more depressing place than a casino, because I don't know if you've ever been inside one. But I
don't think
especially the old school casinos where they don't have tellers, they just have slots and stuff. It's just people just mindlessly
I've seen videos of that.
Just clicking a button over and over again.
Yeah.
But it's I'm this doesn't. But no, the nice ones, the actual nice ones where they have tellers at every single, or I don't know what you call them, dealers at every single table, and it's those are actually a completely different environment, because people are having a blast and they're jumping up and yelling and have that kind of stuff. But that's a different environment than what you see on the slots.
Yeah, and I wonder. Yeah, greed is a very dangerous thing, and it can lead you down a really sad path. And I wonder how many people's lives are destroyed by having access to that kind of thing.
Well, now we have it on the biggest one of the biggest epidemics in America right now is gambling apps.
Yeah.
Like FanDuel.
Yeah.
In the past, if you wanted to be a gambling addict, you had to go to there was work that it took to get from
the
point
same
A
thing
to
with
point
pornography,
B.
right?
Pornography. Yeah. Even back in the day, for even alcohol, you had to go to a bar. Generally, just saloons had alcohol, so you had to ride your horse.
There's no anonymity. Yeah.
to go get whiskey. There was there was an exchange of effort to get a certain item, right? Mm-hmm. And now it's just, man, there's
no personal cost. No
very
social cost.
Addictive, destructive medians.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another whole podcast. We could talk about what those things have done to society. And, you talk about depression, anxiety rates of skyrocketing.
Yeah.
You wonder the direct tie of those,
Yeah. And the same thing, like
things.
investment apps, things like crypto, they enable people to make a decision and act on that decision instantaneously.
And live in the ups and downs.
And they are not protected by wisdom. Wisdom waits.
Yeah.
Wisdom's patient.
And
wisdom thinks through things.
Ideally, that's why you probably pay like a financial advisor to
Yes.
give you that wisdom if that's something you don't have. And in the past, you would get like one quarterly statement that says, this is how your investments are. And you're like, cool, up, down.
Yeah. You're not living in the moment. Like Robinhood is out like constantly.
Refresh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, it went up. Okay, I'm gonna sell. Or it went down. Oh
Yeah.
man, I'm dead.
What a frantic way to live life.
Oof.
Yeah.
And I actually, so during COVID, I kind of got really excited because the markets went down. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start investing. Right.
Yeah.
And I made some money really fast.
Did the same.
And I scared myself to death.
Did the same.
And I stopped doing it because I thought, okay, so I just put 20 grand into the stock market and I traded on margin and I made a ton of money. But what would have happened if the opposite?
Mm-hmm. Especially on margin.
My life would be, it could be not over, but
financially
it could be like,
ruined.
I have 20 years of something I now have to deal with.
Yeah. And
like,
you have, and you're also a very smart person.
Scary.
The average, you have potentially more information on this thing than maybe the average person because you enjoy, but like the fact that anybody can go on Robinhood
and trade on margin.
Trade on margins. Yeah. Trade on margin, and Robinhood and Webull, and they don't do a good enough job warning people. Hey, what you're trading with stuff you don't have.
Yeah, this is dangerous.
It should be. You have to be a financial advisor with your Series 6 to be able to trade on margin.
Right.
Like it shouldn't even be allowed. Like in my humble opinion. Like
I don't necessarily disagree. I think it's a dangerous thing.
But they want it. They want that to happen.
Well, yeah.
They're
making money.
Yeah, they want
doesn't
you to
really
lose.
end their life.
It doesn't
bother them.
Like the trading app, they're going to get their money, and now it's on interest. And
the trading app probably doesn't even. Robinhood probably. My guess is that they're partnered with banks and stuff, so the banks are going to go after you.
Correct.
It has
Not even them. They don't care. They're just
care.
the middleman.
Yeah.
They're just the enablers. Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. Like FanDuel and though, like I have so many friends that are like stressed every sports games now. Like in the past, it used to be fun to watch sports, and now it's like everyone's betting on. You can bet on like who's the first person that's going to score a touchdown, and you can bet on like is it going to be a pass play or a run play, the first play. You can bet on what color cleats this person's going to wear. I mean, like it's an endless just black hole of
things
like,
you can bet on.
And the next thing you know, it's like this game doesn't decide if you're going to be happy or sad or Monday. This game decides if you've lost half your paycheck or not.
Yeah.
And it just like the man inside me is like, yeah, like, you can see the like excitement and the extra edge it would bring to watching sports if there was more at stake.
Right.
But I'm like, dude,
but people don't have the self-control.
Correct.
To
stop.
To do it in a responsible way.
We went to Vegas, I told Anna, and people disagree with me. They think I was wrong for doing this, and I don't really care. You can think I'm wrong. But we had a budget. I'm like, look, I view this as a adult Chuck E. Cheese that ruins people's lives. But,
but basically.
But like our budget is $250 a person. Mm-hmm. $250, not $250. $250 a person.
Grand.
The moment it's gone, we're done.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And it allowed us 3 nights of having fun. And then we ended up breaking even or almost breaking even. It was actually about 0.98. So I think we left with $400. So we were only 100 short. And it was like free fun for 3 nights. And it was like something that we had 100% self-control on because I knew that Gambling is not something I have any desire to do,
Right.
any desire to make a habit. I'm not trying to make money off of this. You know, it was
Right.
just a fun activity. People gave me crap because they're like, well, you just paid money to a casino that is, you know, I'm like, okay, I can understand that tension.
I mean,
but
the argument is
it's true for anything. I mean, you went and shopped at Target. So like, you know, like that's a slippery slope of you bought Starbucks, you know,
and then Target went and spent your money on something, and then somebody's
and now they're creating,
what's
you know,
the limiting?
Right. Yeah. So, but it was interesting to see like how addictive, like if you went in there thinking I'm going to make money, like or like my goal is to make money,
powerful,
because we went in there not to make money, we went in there for fun, and then it was like all of a sudden you're like, oh, I could you have that little
you know, it reminds me of that scripture, you know, let the person who thinks they stand take heed lest they fall. Right? It's we all think we're strong until the time of testing. And so, I mean, there is wisdom in saying, even though I think I can handle it, I'm going to choose to stay away, because the reality is we all have moments in our lives where we're weak. And that's why it's helpful to build these structures in our lives that help us not to fall when we have weakness.
There's a lot of things that we've built in our family that aren't necessarily bad, but they're not necessarily good, and they're addictive. You know, so we've intentionally not let those things in our home because we're like, we don't want to have access to whatever that is. You know what I mean? So, you know, alcohol or whatever. It's like, we don't want to, like, after a hard, you know, I don't want to have 50 beers in the fridge. So I just get in this habit, hard day at work, going, you know, so it's just not even an option for us. And so that's been an intentional measure placed because of what you just said. That, you know, not to get into a whole alcohol debate right now, but you know, but that was the whole
there's
point.
Wisdom with these things that
for us, that was, we felt wisely, just a wise decision for our family. And it's been something that we've definitely been grateful that we've done, because there are definitely very hard days at work that I'm like, man, I'm sure getting plastered right now would be great. You know, like I've never been like, and so, but not even have that option is just probably a good thing.
And giving yourself, I mean, we're believers here. So giving yourself, so instead of having those things available, saying, I actually need to reach for prayer. I need to pray. I need to ask the Lord for strength to get through this. And if we have things that we can turn to, like our phones, like Instagram, like that we, you know, we don't even give ourselves the opportunity to think
to run to Christ, because
we run to the Lord. You know?
Absolutely.
So it's helpful to create structures that force you to say, I am limited.
I am dependent.
I need the Lord. And let's pray about this situation. And there's peace for people who do that.
Absolutely.
True peace.
Absolutely. Man, I feel like we could just start a new podcast now on like a new episode on like family and scripture and Christ, and that'd be great to do. This was fun. I really appreciated it. This
thanks
was
for the invite. It was
fascinating conversation, man.
I could go on and on about crypto and all of that. It's so interesting to me. And I think you did a great job.
I think the average person listening today is going to be like, okay, I actually feel like I have a decent understanding to the why, the craze behind it. You know, at least it's like, it's, you know, I think the average person thinks it's a scam, or thinks it's
only used for criminals. Or,
So this was for me, I really enjoyed learning about the more than just the base level of like the why behind the excitement, and it's almost more sometimes the excitement of the technology than the actual currency itself. And that was really cool to hear. Is there anything that, I mean, I know you co-owner of a company, is there anything that you want to promote or anything that you want to kind of share with the people at the end of the podcast?
I am thankful for the opportunity to be here. So, and, you know, Hail Trace is just, you know, another thing that is awesome and I enjoy doing. So, it's, you know, basically letting roofing companies know where buildings have been hit by hail. And so, for me, it's not necessarily the thing like, okay, I'm not a weather nerd, right? Like I don't care about weather that much. It's always about the technology. That's what excites me. And so that's why hail trace is cool, because
That's awesome.
we're taking radar data and making it useful for roofing companies. And so I'm trying to figure out how I can get crypto radar
Into
data
hail trace,
and
yeah.
all these things combined somehow would be great, but I don't know how to bridge that gap yet. So we'll see.
You'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. Well, thank you for coming on the show.
Yep.
Guys, if you're still watching, please subscribe to the channel. Get your bag of coffee. It's out now. Link is below.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye, guys.
Night.